In this video, let's talk about buying a youth baseball glove. Now, whether you're about to buy them their very first glove ever, or it's their second or third or fourth because they're outgrowing smaller ones, we'll talk about size by age. We'll talk about features and materials that you should look for and what I recommend that you should spend by age. And stick around to the end because I'll give you some break-in tips that will only take you a couple minutes as a parent that anyone can do that will honestly make it a lot easier for your kid to keep that ball in their mitt once they've got it in the pocket. Now, I do want to mention that this is a partnership video between myself and Just Gloves. They've sent me all these different youth glove models so that I could show you some of the features at different price points. So thank you to Just Gloves. Feel free to jump in the description below to check out any of the models that you'll see in this video. I also want to mention, I will link in the description below to some of my beginner baseball resources, other videos here on YouTube, like how to throw for beginners, how to teach your kid how to catch, trying to help your little baseball player get the right equipment and also have more fun on the field. I'll link below to a bunch of other videos that'll go hand in hand with their first baseball glove. All right, first thing, a little housekeeping about age. We all know that there are 6-year-olds that look like they're 10 years old because they're huge for their age. And we all know that there are 9-year-olds who look like they're 5 years old because they're small for their age. So when I say age here, really you need to think hard about the developmental age of your kid. Are they big for their size? Are they small for their size? Do they have really big hands or small hands for their age? Because that really matters. We could have 2 different 7-year-olds, one of whom this 11-inch glove is perfect for them because they're a big kid for their age. Or they need this really tiny glove because their hands are still small and they're small for their age. So when you're thinking about age, make sure you think more about their development. How big are they for their age rather than just the number that defines them. All right, let's talk youth baseball gloves for ages 6 and below. All right, so size recommendations for 6 and below, 9.5, 10, or 10.5. Any of those are fine. And again, just think about how big your kid is for their age. This glove is 10. This glove is also 10. They actually look quite a bit different just because of the shape. But these are both 10-inch gloves. This one is 10.5, and then I don't have a 9.5 here to show you, but 9.5 is a little smaller. So again, just try to size it up, but anywhere between 9.5 and 10.5 is totally fine for ages 6 and below. There are some variances here, and let's talk material. So this Nike glove is about 50 bucks. This is all synthetic. The material, the entire shell and palm and webbing, it's all this synthetic blue material. The laces are also synthetic material. So what does this mean? With synthetics, they're not really going to break in. They're not really going to stretch, right? We know that leather stretches over time. You have shoes that are too tight. You wear them for a little while. You stretch them out. They're perfect, right? The same goes with ball gloves. So synthetic is one material. It's really light, which is really handy. This glove is 10 inches. This glove is $150. This is a very high quality youth glove. This one is significantly more heavy than this one. So for a really small kid, you might want to factor in weight, and synthetic might be a little bit better for them. These are, again, decisions you will have to make, but there are 3 different materials to choose, especially at this age. Fully synthetic. This one is pigskin. This is a Mizuno Prospect Power Close. This has some synthetic on the back to make it look cool and aerodynamic. Also give it some color, also to reduce weight. But this is pigskin. Pigskin is obviously a real material, a natural material. It's really soft. It's really flexible. So there's very little break-in needed. It's very easy to close. One of the big considerations for young kids is they have to be able to close it easily. Now, this one is a Rawlings ContuOR Gamer, and this one is specifically built for younger kids' hands. This is much more expensive. This is a 10-inch glove, this is a 10-inch glove, and this is a 10.5. We'll go back to size in a second. But as we're looking at materials, this is fully leather. There's some synthetic inside the finger stalls that make it feel kind of cozy in there. But overall, this glove is still relatively easy to break in. It will take a little more break in than these other two because the leather is thicker and thus a little bit tougher at first. But this is where the parent break-in tips that I'll give you later will also really help. All 3 of these gloves can do the job equally well. It depends on your budget, your kid's seriousness about baseball, but also you do get what you pay for. So is this going to be a better tool, especially once it's broken in? Yes. Does that mean you need to spend $150 on your kid when they're 6 years old? Absolutely not. Think about your budget, think about the materials that you want and what they're going to be able to grow into. If you don't know if they're even going to like the sport, definitely go with something cheaper. Go with the pigskin. This is a great option. One of the great features, it has this power close notch. It's a little V-notch right here at the hinge point, and this makes this glove much easier to close for tiny, weak little hands. With other gloves like this one, we have to really break this in and just fold it and fold it and fold it and play a lot of catch with it. And then when we get a lot of really good creases in that point right there, now the glove breaks in and feels really floppy. This V-notch just makes that a lot easier because we're taking that material out where it bunches up and making it easier to close. So I highly recommend for any age below like 9, look for a V-notch. It's going to make the glove a lot easier to squeeze, and your kid will probably be like, oh, cool, I feel very capable with this. Now, this Nike does not have a V-notch, and it is a little more difficult to close. Now, the synthetic will break in a little bit, but not as much as the leather. So again, something to consider when we're talking about materials. Synthetic, pigskin, and then full grain real leather. So my recommendations for youth baseball gloves ages 6 and below, I say go with pigskin or real leather. Spend the extra couple bucks. Maybe you're going to get into the $50 or $60 range. This Nike's around 50. This Mizuno is around 40. This Rawlings Gamer ContuOR is 150. There's a lot of different price points, but I say somewhere between the $50 and $80 range will get you a full leather glove or a pigskin and mix of materials glove that will probably last an additional year. The synthetics don't hold up quite as well. That doesn't make this useless, but all these cheaper gloves, you do get what you pay for. I say spend a little extra money to try to get pigskin or real leather. Look for the V-notch and do some break-in work yourself, which again, scrub through this video and you'll find the break-in section. All right, so ages 7 and 8, what are my recommendations for youth baseball gloves? In America, you know, baseball gets a little more competitive at ages 7 and 8. Kids are trying to make their first travel team at 8 years old, or they're just playing a lot more baseball. They're fielding more fly balls and more ground balls, playing catch a lot more. The rigors placed on your glove at below age 7, a really cheap glove can last a lot longer. But when they're fielding and playing the sport a lot more often, you know, it's going to pound their glove and it's going to take a lot more impacts from catches and throws. And then you're going to start to want to spend a little more money, probably on real leather, just so the glove lasts a little longer, breaks in a little better, and is a little more durable. I think that's reasonable advice. If your kid's just starting out at 7 and 8, you can still definitely go with a cheap synthetic glove because you're not sure if they're going to stay in the sport long term. That's totally fine. But at the same time, this Mizuno is full leather and it's only $60, and it is a much more serious, high quality tool than this 10.5-inch Nike glove, which looks great. It's got a good shape to it, but this one is going to break in better. It's going to be more durable. It's going to really fit the demands of practicing more as they get a little more serious about the game, or they're just having a ton of fun and they just like to take a lot of ground balls, right? At age 7 and 8, here's what I think about size. 10 inches, if they're really small, but really more like 10.5 is a really good size for 7 and 8. All right, youth glove recommendations for ages 9 and 10. So this is where kids are starting to sprout up. They're getting a little taller. Their hands are getting a little bigger. Recommendation on glove size for 9 to 10, 10.5 or 11 inches. And you can start to creep a little higher than that. This is a Rawlings Mark of the Pro. This is a Just Gloves exclusive model. This is about a $200 glove. This is a nice, very durable glove. This is 11.25 inches. This is a Mizuno. This is about $60. This is full leather. This is an excellent glove for that age. This is 11 inches. This is a Rawlings Gamer ContuOR Series. This model is awesome for 9 and 10 and above because this one is meant for a youth hand. This glove is specifically engineered by actually one of the employees at justgloves.com. They worked with Rawlings on this, and this shape is really unique. It's got a really big bowl shape, and it's meant to fit a youth kid's hand. It's a little tighter wrist opening, a little tighter to the back of the hand as well. And then the finger stalls are specifically meant to hug youth kids' hands. So you could get a 10.5 glove like this Nokona, which is a very expensive glove that I can fit my adult hand in relatively comfortably. And is a youth kid's hand going to be fine in this as well? Yeah, probably. But this glove's a little less tailored for a youth hand than this one, in my opinion. These are both excellent gloves. This one is engineered a little more specifically for a little kid's hand. So what are you looking for at this age? 9 and 10, you definitely need to get them a full leather glove. Try to spend a little more. In that range, I'd say $70 to $100 is going to last you longer as well. And one of the big things to understand is you absolutely get what you pay for in baseball gloves across the board. When you go and spend $100, $150, $200, $250, it's usually easy to see right away the difference between those gloves. Again, this one's like $60, this one's $150, and you can easily tell just picking it up that this is much higher quality, thicker leather, the craftsmanship, the laces, like everything about it. This thing, you can tell, oh, this is what you get for $70 more over this one. And this one's another $50 above this one. And you can also feel the really high quality leather on the back, the details, the craftsmanship. It's very obvious. This Nokona is $400. This is handmade in the US, and these are really top of the line gloves. Is this something your kid needs? No, but if you have the means and you want to buy them the best glove possible and you really care about made in America, Nokona makes excellent gloves. So you get what you pay for by age. However, in the 9-10 range, I say you spend around $100. I think that's totally fine. If you want to spend more, great. If you want to go a little bit below, I think it'll still be fine. Again, this one's $60, this Mizuno. And this is an excellent little glove for a 9 or 10-year-old. So stay within your budget. Don't overspend. There's lots more options at that age. But again, 10.5 to 11 or even 11.25 is fine for a 9 to 10-year-old. All right, so glove recommendations for youth baseball players age 11 and 12. This is where it starts to get a little, like you're going to start to get more towards adult baseball glove sizes. So let's start here. We've got 4 different sizes in front of me. First one here, this is 10 3/4. If your kid is still really small, but they need a bigger one, 10.5 or 10 3/4 is still fine. But make sure you're thinking, okay, my kid's more like a 9-year-old or more like an 8-year-old in physical size. So yeah, the 10.5, 10 3/4 is still going to be in play, or 11.5 is going to be in play for that age if they're smaller for their age. This is a Rawlings Heart of the Hide. This is a $320 glove. This is like a pro level glove built for kids. This is a justgloves.com exclusive. So if you're a person with means and you want to buy your kid the best glove, this is about the best kid glove on the market. Do you need to spend that on your child? Absolutely not. A $100 glove is going to be perfectly fine. But again, there's a price point for everything. This is a really nice glove, and it's a little easier to break in. They've made this more for youth kids. This Mizuno is 11 inches. This is a wonderful size for 11 or 12. A lot of kids are going to go a little bit bigger than that. But if your kid's a little bit on the small side for 11 and 12, 11 inches is a really good happy medium. And then these are the most popular sizes, 11.5. This Rawlings Mark of a Pro. Again, this is a wonderful little glove. This is about $200. Again, $100 is going to get you a really good glove at that age, so don't feel you have to spend more. And this is the Wilson 11.5 DP15, the Dustin Pedroia hand-shaped model. So 11.5, I think, is a very good size for 11 and 12. This is what most kids will have for infield. And again, somewhere between $100 and $200, you're going to get them a really good, durable glove that will last a couple of seasons. So somewhere between 11 and 11 3/4 inches is the right size for 11 and 12-year-old baseball players. Let me give you a point of reference. This is an 11.5-inch glove. This is a Wilson A2000. This is an adult baseball glove. A2000s are like $329 brand new, and these are very stiff, very hard to break in. I do not recommend this for 11 and 12-year-olds. You'll get a lot of kids who beg for this glove because they see their favorite MLB stars wearing A2000s. These are so stiff and such high quality leather that they're really hard to break in at that age. So yes, your kid could beg you for this. And if you buy them one and you give in, be prepared to have to do a lot of work as a parent to break in their glove because it will be unusable otherwise. These are really stiff. The ball will just pop right back out. It will not work well. So I don't recommend going the really high-end, stiff pro kind of gloves. That said, this is a Rawlings Mark of a Pro. This is like Heart of the Hide leather, which is Rawlings like highest quality leather basically on the back of the glove, on the shell, and then a softer, the R9 series leather on the inside. This is meant to be easier to squeeze for a young player to break in faster, but also be filled with high quality materials that pro level gloves have. So this glove's about $200, and this would be a better choice if you wanted to spend more money on your kid at this age. Let me tell you about this one specifically. This is the DP15 model. This was made for Dustin Pedroia, who is this amazing World Series champion with the Boston Red Sox, amazing infielder. He had really small hands for an adult, and they made this glove specifically for him with a smaller wrist opening and a more narrow fit here and a smaller finger stall shape to fit his smaller hand. So this is a really great A1000 or A2000 model. They make them in both for a young ball player. So if you're thinking, okay, I'm ready to buy him an A1000 or A2000, the DP15 is a really great model for infield. This is 11.5 inches, and this is something that will fit, that is made for a smaller hand. So highly recommend if you do go the higher end route. The Rawlings Gamer ContuOR Series, these are also made for small hands. I mentioned this with the younger age groups. This is a 10.5. This can absolutely be the right size for a medium or smaller size 11 or 12-year-old. This is an amazing glove, easy to break in, really good pocket, and this wide sort of bowl shape. And again, this is made for a youth hand. Another high-end glove, Nokona. This one's $400. Do you need to spend this on a kid? No. But if you are a person with tremendous means, and this is what you want to buy your son or daughter, this is made in America. Really high attention to detail, highest quality materials. This one's soft, so this one would be easier to break in, but this is what you get for $400. Made in America, really high quality. You know, there's a price point for everyone. But in general, I really suggest you stay around $100 for 11 and 12. You'll get a good, durable, all-leather glove that can grow with them and be somewhere between 10.5 and 11.5 inches. All right, so in general, I've been talking about what size glove should you get for your youth baseball player. in the context of like one glove, right? And so basically we're talking about like one glove that will play infield and outfield, right? We know it's not a catcher's mitt, and kids don't really need a first base mitt when they're young either. But there is a difference between infield and outfield mitts. So let's quickly talk about, should you get your kid an outfield mitt, or should they have two? What's the deal there? So number one, for kids like 11 and 12, which is the highest age I'm going to in this video, 11 and a half is about the biggest, or 11 and 3/4 is about the biggest you're going to want to go for 11 and 12. That said, in the outfield, you do want the extra reach and the extra range. So if you're going to buy your kid at 11 or 12 an outfield glove, what size should you get? So this is a full, like, adult size glove. This is my outfield mitt that I use for slow pitch softball. Is a pro preferred. This is 12 and 3/4 inch. The standard outfield size for basically adults, so it's like high school kids and above, is 12 and 3/4 or 13 inch for the outfield. That said, this is going to feel really gigantic on a kid's hand, 12 and under. Obviously, if your kid is 12 and they look like they're 15, this will probably be fine. But for most kids, you're not going to want to go to a full adult size outfield glove. So what you want to do, if you want to get your kid an outfield glove too, which absolutely will help, like running down a fly ball with an 11 and a half is not as easy as running one down with a 12 and 1/4 or a 12 and a half. So let's talk about those sizes. So if you want to get your kid an outfield glove that's separate from their infield glove, you'll want to probably go for 12, 12 and 1/4, or 12 and a half. But you need to be careful because these will get a lot bigger and a lot heavier on their little hands, and it just might not work very well. So is 12 inches a outfield glove size? Absolutely not. This is like a pitcher size for adults. But for a kid who's 10 or 12 who just wants a little extra reach, 12 inch might be the right move to get an outfield glove at that age. Because again, we're talking about youth baseball, not bigger kids here. 12 and 1/4 starts to feel a lot bigger, and I think that's a really good medium. So if you're thinking again of getting an outfield glove for a youth kid, I'd say look at 12 inch, 12 and 1/4, or 12 and a half, but start to be careful because 12 and a half gets to feel big. This is a Stinger model, and this is like a $200 glove. 12 and a half starts to feel pretty big, and especially as the pocket loosens up, it's going to get a lot bigger. And feel kind of cavernous. So in general, your kid only needs one glove, especially up until age 13. If they play a lot of outfield at 13 plus, I would splurge for an outfield glove for them. I think it's a really good investment. It definitely makes a difference running down fly balls. However, for 12 and below, just get them one glove, and at their oldest, like an 11 and a half or 11 3/4 is a good happy medium. All right, so let's go to the general break-in tips. Now, the big problem with break-in with young kids is because they have such small hands, their fingers aren't reaching very deep into the finger stalls. So when they squeeze the glove, what happens is this. And you can see this makes a terribly tiny little snow cone style pocket. Does that look secure to you? Does that look like that's gonna, allow your kid to, run down that fly ball in the outfield or catch that line drive? Absolutely not. That is not a good pocket. So what we're looking for is to make a deeper bowl-shaped web, and that comes from the skill of your break-in and also the quality of some of the materials. All right, so first thing, let's talk about hinges. One-hinge break-in is like this, where basically I'm bringing my four fingers towards my thumb. This is the most common way for infielders and just for kids in general, for most people. It just folds along this break point, this crease point, all at once like that. And the thumb is going to go over about the third finger, plus or minus. So that's a one-hinge break-in. Now, a two-hinge break-in, you can do this on any glove. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to slide your fingers over. So you have two fingers in the pinky stall. So your index is in the middle, middle's in the ring and pinky are together. So this allows you anatomically a much more comfortable way to close your glove with two hinges. And a two-hinge break-in just means I have a big crease point here and a big crease point here. And when I fold and close my glove, it makes like a triangle like this. A hinge here and a hinge here. That's a two-hinge break-in. And this is, again, for older players or for outfielders specifically. If you get an outfield glove, if you look at a major leaguer, every single major league outfielder breaks in their outfield glove with a two-hinge break-in. You can break in an infield glove like that for sure if you wanted to, but this is just generally not the way little kids want to do it and the way infielders want to break in their gloves. We're just going to use a little hot water to help soften the leather up. Not boiling, but hot. So you don't have to do this step. I just think this makes it much easier to shape the glove initially, especially with a higher quality glove. And then real simple, we're just gonna beat this pocket. Don't have to go real hard with these smaller kids' gloves. Already you can see the laces are stretching out, which is a good thing. Not damaged, just stretching out. And then I'm going to close this a bunch of times just to really kind of wear in that hinge point. And then if you can get your hand in the glove, And that's all you really have to do to really start to get this stretched out. Where now we've got deeper pocket for this glove to close around. And you can repeat if you need to continue to get more depth. Well, already we're off to a good start. All right, so that's it for my youth baseball glove buying guide. Again, big thanks to my sponsor here, justgloves.com, for sending me all these gloves. Check out the links in the description below. You'll find all the gloves I featured today on my own page, very special, on justgloves.com. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below. I will definitely respond, help you find the right glove for your kid. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you here in the next video.